So, a marked difference from the more vitriolic language that we saw earlier this week when Alberta invoked its Sovereignty Act. And to talk about this, we're now joined by Rick Bell, columnist for the Calgary Sun. Rick, always good to see you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I've been longing to get back on CPAC, where all the action is.
Well, you're always welcome. But listen, let's talk about this. Because the Sovereignty Act was earlier this week. Today we're seeing some very nice language between the feds and the province. Danielle Smith among them. What's behind this tough one-day language, nice the next day that we're hearing from Danielle Smith?
Well, of course they're going to be nice when they're together. I mean, that's just diplomacy, that's just proper etiquette. In fact, I can tell you, I was speaking with Premier Smith last night, and she was saying she's got an invite to an invitation-only dinner that Stephen Guilbeault is hosting next week in Dubai. So she's even going to a dinner that he's going to be the host for. So of course they're going to be very civil, and they're, to the degree that they can agree on stuff, they'll of course agree on stuff. It's not like Smith is saying everything that Ottawa has done is bad. She's not saying that. She's saying where we agree with Ottawa, we will join with the federal government in doing stuff that goes according to the Alberta plan.
Okay, but if they are capable, both sides, Ottawa and the Alberta government, if they are capable of having civil discussion, which Danielle Smith is obviously a part of, why trigger the Sovereignty Act then?
Because she says they're not moving off their position. Their position is net zero power grid by 2035. Her position is impossible in Alberta, where the vast majority of electricity is generated by natural gas. So that's why she's not going to move off that position, and they don't seem to be moving off their position, therefore the Sovereignty Act. And in fact, what's happening is her plans are to increase natural gas powered electricity in Alberta over the next years.
Okay, so
rather than decrease. She's supposed to be trying to decrease it according to Ottawa. She's actually increasing it. So there is the big gulf on that particular issue. She does not want 2035 to be the date for Alberta. 2050 is what she wants. She says 2045 is maybe, but not 2035.
Okay, so but if she told you her plan is to double, is that the reasoning for exploring the possibility of a Crown corporation to oversee all of this?
Yes, because right now they don't have any natural gas projects in the queue. She claims it's because investors are afraid to invest here with this conflict going on and with the looming federal regulation. So she blames the federal government for that. So if that remains the case, she's going to try to get the private sector to do it. But if it remains the case, this self-styled libertarian premier is unbelievably going to have a Crown corporation where the government will build plants or help fund plants or buy old plants that people want to sell because of what's going to happen in 2035.
Yeah.
So that's why that has to come in. There has to be a way to build it. If she wants to build natural gas, right now there aren't people lined up to do that.
Okay, but
she blames Ottawa.
So she's blaming Ottawa, but it's interesting because I was speaking with Jonathan Wilkinson last night. And he was saying, not only are these regulations still at the proposal stage, not yet passed, they're pointing to 2035, but he says their discussion so far does allow leeway that pushes net zero for Alberta to almost 2050. 2045 is the year he was talking about. So if that's what we heard from Minister Wilkinson, again, why trigger the act if the Ottawa seems to be still willing to negotiate? Is this really about creating a justification for a Crown corporation, or is this about the relationship with Ottawa?
Well, I don't think it's a justification, unless Danielle Smith has changed her whole political philosophy. I don't think she's that happy with going for a Crown corporation. She is a very, very small government libertarian, so at least in her personal political philosophy. No, I quite frankly, she has said, well, she told me yesterday that there isn't, whatever Wilkinson is saying, that there hasn't been a lot of movement from the federal government. So she is saying something that sounds different than what the federal government is saying.
Okay, so that said then, Rick, from what you're seeing, what you're hearing, how is Danielle Smith, her position on the Sovereignty Act, on doing this for gas-powered electricity, how is that being received, not only in Calgary, but in other parts of the province from what you're hearing?
Well, initially, I mean, Alberta politicians have dined out on fighting with Ottawa. That's always been the card they play no matter what. I would suspect at this point, she probably has 50% plus one. She probably does have the majority, at least wanting to see how this rolls out. We're in the early days. On the Crown Corporation, there's people within conservatism in Alberta that still have many questions about that. But about the idea of going after Ottawa more substantially than just the usual strongly worded letter or the usual court fight that goes on for years, I think there is, at least at the beginning, some support for that. And the indicator I have for that is she's already talking about using the Sovereignty Act again. She talked to me about it. There are advanced discussions going on right now for your viewers at CPAC around the cabinet table to use, sooner rather than later, the Sovereignty Act on another file.
Okay. Any hint as to what file that might be, Rick?
Yes, it'll be on, depending what the emissions cap on oil and gas looks like. And there's supposed to be a development on that file fairly soon. And she says, if we judge it to be unconstitutional, untenable, unattainable, hurting us, et cetera, that will be another one. Okay. Methane cap, another one. So they're already sitting around the cabinet table, if you can imagine this, saying, we just rolled out this one, but we're already talking about scenarios where we use it again. So it doesn't sound like she's backing away and being a little scared that this might be, the bridge too far. At least not yet. But again, we're in the very early hours of this happening.
Okay. Well, at least that guarantees we'll speak again in the future, Rick. Listen for today.
Oh, yeah, there'll be another one.
There'll be another one.
This is like, I used to cover boxing in Vegas.
Yeah.
And, if this is a 12-round fight, we're only in round one.
Okay. Well, lots to talk about that in the future. But for now, Rick, thank you for that. Always good to see you. Thank you.
Good to see you as well. Thank you.